I live in a village which lies by a small river in Scotland. Annually, a horse race is organized in the village, and those who meet a certain age requirement can participate in the competition. And the race has become a part of our tradition through the years. I had to remain patient until I was 18 years old in order to be a participant. My steed was Nicholas, a horse with flawless beauty consisting of a silver mane and long tail of pure white fur, iridescent, just like the hair of a fairy. But more importantly, he was the horse that I've raised since the age of 10. I had taken good care of him, looking forward to the day that I could finally ride him in the race for the first time of my life. Nicholas was a loyal friend to me, responding to none other than myself. It was on that day, race day, when I came to Nicholas, stroked his fur as I whispered in his ear, "We definitely have to win, Nick. I put my faith in you." He blinked his eyes, nodded his head just like he understood every single word that I was saying to him. I quickly took Nicholas to the racetrack. Together with me were another 20 young riders my age attending the race. This race, to us, was not just a race, but also a mark of maturity for myself and my competitors. The winner of the race stood a chance of becoming the deputy mayor of the village. Our goal was to pick the miracle fruit inside the mysterious forest and return home before darkness fell. The mere thought of it gave me vigor and motivation to win this race. Nicholas and I stood side by side as the crowd cheered us on. All contestants had to be hyped up. The participants and their horses stood behind a barrier placed below the starting line. The sound of horses breathing anxiously added to the excitement. Then, as the barrier was removed, the race began, and we quickly got onto our horses, heading towards the forest, which was just a few kilometers away. However, unbeknownst to us, peril seemed to beckon in the distance. Nicholas and I got to the edge of the forest as fast as we could. Together we headed to the allocated area to reach the miracle tree, which was located in the middle of a lake. It was a large, deep lake surrounded by dense forest. In order to get to the middle of the lake, a ferry had to be taken, of which there was only one. As we moved closer to the edge of the forest, I suddenly heard a long howling sound that sent shivers up my spine. My horse started to behave strangely. Nicholas stopped and refused to move, with his hooves popping up constantly, scraping at the forest soil. His behavior was that of terror and fear. Seeing me standing like that, one of my rivals, who was on his way to the lake, laughed mockingly. His name was Mark, and he said, "Hey loser, are you scared now or what?" Having said that, Mark continued to laugh and made his way deeper into the forest. I quickly urged Nicholas to move and chase him down because I refused to give up in the middle of the race. Nicholas looked uncontrollable and uncomfortable, but after a while he continued to advance. I followed Mark into the forest. Mark suddenly stopped and walked to another white horse nearby. It was a horse with beautifully and magically shimmering white fur. Except for Nicholas, it was the most beautiful horse I had ever seen. Its beauty was mesmerizing as we were unable to take our eyes off her, but Nicholas didn't seem to appeal to it. As he kept on whining and jumping up in fear, making us move forward, that horse also didn't seem to respond to its own kind. At first, he howled in excitement as he found himself a beautiful white horse with such great strength. This horse outran myself and Nicholas, Mark still arrogantly laughing at me as they passed us. But soon his laughter turned to fear as he realized that there was something strange about the horse he rode. He wasn't able to control her and kept yelling at the horse to slow down. The horse started so fast that he seemed to be flying. Mark turned his head back and shouted, "Please help me! I can't slow down!" But the horse kept running faster and faster, making it impossible for me to catch up with him. The mysterious horse came to the shore of the lake, bringing Mark straight towards it. Meanwhile, I was shouting, "Mark, get off the horse, quickly!" But he seemed stuck to the horse and was unable to let go as the horse carried him into the lake. I stopped paying attention to the tree in the middle of the lake and turned my attention to Mark instead. The horse went deeper and deeper into the middle of the lake as Mark was struggling, waving, trying to get off the horse. Then, both the horse and Mark suddenly disappeared under the water. A moment later, the horse emerged with a horrible, scary appearance, sharp teeth, black eyes filled with hatred. She wasn't a beautiful white horse anymore. Both her mane and skin turned dark. Her body was covered with algae and green moss in patches, looking extremely disgusting. It was like a corpse of a dead horse that had been laying in the lake for far too long. As the mare rose up, exposing her sharp teeth from the water, she made a horrifying sound. Suddenly, underneath the surface of the lake, it seemed like a giant creature whipped up its tail, creating massive waves. Mark was now struggling in the water, screaming and trying to stay head above water. I immediately got off my horse and went straight to the edge of the lake in order to help Mark. But to my horror, the beast then latched onto Mark in order to drag him down deeper into the lake. Mark seemed unable to free himself from the grasp of this beast, its sharp teeth sinking into him piece by piece as he was eventually swallowed whole in what seemed to be seconds. The lake turned red with Mark's blood. I screamed in panic, feeling paralyzed and unable to help. I was about to jump on Nicholas to run away as I came to witness many of the other competitors being dragged down by more of these nightmares, the same as Mark. There was not only one, but multiple of these human-eating monsters. The question was, why did no one in the village ever know about this? Under all the fear, I sensed confusion. I recalled hearing about the strange disappearance of people some time ago. They all apparently died at the hands of monsters called KELPIEs. But there never seemed to be any evidence of this. I soon realized that this might be the reason for all the disappearances. The KELPIEs seemed to turn into white horses to attract riders, which they then drowned and devoured. It was a terrifying revelation to digest. The 3 participants who witnessed this event ran away in fear. Finally, all who were left on the scene was myself and Nick, the mayor's son, who was standing beside me observing everything. He looked at me arrogantly, saying, "You should be dead too, loser." He smirked and looked at me as I was about to escape the area. Needless to say, I no longer cared about the purpose of this horse race anymore. The rest of the participants were all dead. Nick then approached me, tightly gripped me by the collar and dragged me to the shore, intending to throw me to the beasts. He punched and pushed me into the water. Filled with anger, I asked him, "Knew about this? Huh? Did you know that this was going to happen? I bet you did." Nick without resentment, told me that he knew all about this, but wasn't stupid enough to warn any of the others. As I resurfaced, making my way out of the water, I shouted and viciously attacked him. Pulling him in with me, my anger fueled my aggression as I was beating him to a bloody pulp. He tried to get away, but I pulled him back in and pushed him even deeper into the lake. I quickly swam ashore, and as I turned around, I witnessed Nick being dragged down by one of the beasts. It devoured him, making sounds of terror as Nick was losing his grip on life. By now, the whole lake was stained in red blood, spreading all over its surface. I quickly got onto my horse and rushed back towards the village. There were just a few survivors left. Everyone looking at us with surprise and excitement, yet being totally unaware of what had just happened. Seemed to be waiting for the others to return as the mayor angrily looked at me, his eyes filled with hatred and animosity. But what made me feel more disturbed and angry at that moment was the disgusting plan he had for us. Quickly, I decided to step onto the podium and told all the villagers that their loved ones were gone forever, to never return. All because of the lies and selfishness of our so-called honorable mayor. He had hidden the truth about the monsters in the lake and the mysterious creatures that fed on humans. He never shared his truth to anybody but his own son, and many of us had died because of it. Knowing he had been exposed, the mayor fearfully fled into the forest from the angry and confused villagers. Since then, my village had banned people from entering the Forbidden Forest. However, since that day, I dreamt about being able to ride a KELPIE. In my heart, I truly believe that I can conquer this monster horse, and one day I will.